Welcome.
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 Welcome. Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi and welcome.
Welcome. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome. We're summoning our great God today.
I'm going to be the sacrifice. They're going to put me up on, so pretty. They're going to put me up on a rock, close the gate, and wait for the king to come.
Literally and figuratively.
Yep. You name it. It'll happen.
Yeah, that's our interpretation of today's film.
Yep.
The 1976 version of King Kong.
Yes.
Have you seen this movie before? Either of you?
I had seen it when. This is why I chose this movie this week, because I saw this all the time when I was a really little kid. Like, this was reran on TV or something a lot.
Yeah.
And this was kind of my entry to King Kong. I thought this was like the only King Kong movie.
Right.
And then I heard later, I used to always see it at it was my grandma's house. I think she had the same like 2 channels on all the time or something. This was on all the time, and I was blown away by it. I just remember it visually. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, they really sold how big this thing was and all that stuff. And then my grandma told me, there's an older one. Like, that's what this is based on. I'm like, really? And then we watched the whole original King Kong.
Wow.
And that movie like broke my heart. That I loved that movie. But I had not seen now I've seen that original one a million times over the course of my life, but I hadn't seen the 70s remake of King Kong since then.
I read that ABC spent $19.5 million to have the rights to air this King Kong.
Really? Wow.
Dang.
For twice a year for 5 years.
In 1976?
No, this is like a couple, maybe 80, maybe a few years later.
Wow.
Still.
And then
It's got to be like
They
35
spent
million today.
a shitload of money on it. And they said they added like 30 minutes of footage
Yeah,
that
there's a
wasn't in the
TV cut.
original.
Yeah.
But they also got rid of some of the more risque scenes to make it for
Yeah, like the Jessica Lange King Kong sex scene.
the sex scene.
Yeah.
All the fingering that happens.
Yeah.
Not sexual fingering,
But there is fingering.
Yeah,
I
when
guess you're right.
When she sees King Kong's dick and she's like,
Well,
That's-
I have notes about that.
that's
and complaints.
pretty big.
I have complaints. I had
okay.
seen this movie on TV. Yeah, I don't remember where. I remember being really young. But I realized in watching this, it hit a point where I was like, oh, this is what I had seen.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I kind of miss this. You would just catch a movie playing, and you had no idea how much you had missed.
And that's the only way I had seen this movie. Again,
Yeah.
it was in fragments on TV all the time. I never sat and watched it from beginning to end.
Me too. So, yeah, all the New York stuff was very familiar to
Yes.
me, and I got
Same
super
here.
nostalgic. It reminded me
Yeah.
of being a kid. Like, oh, I remember being in like my parents' bedroom watching this.
Yeah.
But the first half of the movie, I had no recollection of.
Same here.
The first King Kong movie I ever saw was the 2005 one.
Really?
Yeah,
that
that's
was the first one.
first one, and then
Wow.
I think I took a film class after that and watched the original one. But this is the first time
Oh.
I've seen this one.
Yeah.
Oh, so you went in cold.
I went in very cold.
What did you think?
I don't, when me I'll jump out the gate.
Okay, mixed reaction.
No, give your thoughts.
Hate the King Kong story. I fucking hate it. The fact that they made that movie more than once is baffling to me. Wow. I hate King Kong. I hate King Kong.
Wow.
Wow.
And
You hate the King Kong story.
Story.
You don't hate King Kong.
No.
Maybe you like
I
it too
just hate
much.
the story. It's just a fucking bummer. And they keep remaking this shit, and it's like, yeah, people are bad. They're gonna kill this thing. Okay,
I feel like
get
that's
it.
a classic Sean review of a
Yeah.
movie
Yes.
you don't like. It's just a fucking bummer.
It is, but like, I don't know. I here's the thing. What I like about King Kong is I like the idea of finding a mysterious island. I'm on board for this.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a gigantic creature on this island. I'm on board still.
Yeah.
But then after the certain point, it's like I just know where we're gonna go, and I don't fucking care. Like I don't care. It's
Yeah.
stupid.
Well,
so that's how I felt with King Kong movies.
I think the original King Kong is one of the best movies of all time.
Wow.
I think the 1930 what 31 was it? I can't remember when in the 30s, but it was in
Let's
the 30s.
say 32.
I think that's not in my top 10, but top 20 for sure.
Wow.
I think that movie like still weirdly holds up as much as it looks like the way it looks, and was one of the first uses of like stop motion mixed with live action. it broke my heart as a kid, just as anything else did. It didn't matter that it was that old,
Right.
And I still think it's good, and it's important to film history too. But I like that story. I think I don't know. I think you need those kinds of stories. You need that kind of.
I agree. This one just does nothing for me. Like I just don't.
Yeah, but I will
like
say my Kong standing now, having watched all three, is I think that about the original one. I really liked the 2005 King Kong. I'm not going to compare it to the original. The original's still better, I think. But I liked what it was definitely a love letter to that. Yeah. And maybe almost he went too far. I know it's kind of mixed with people, but I liked it. I liked what they tried to do with it. This one, I remember loving as a kid, and I think this is the worst version of it. This didn't work for me either. Watching it now, I felt like there were a lot of things that took away from it, and we didn't really get to your point, Sean. There was a lot of it that was a bummer, and I didn't feel like they did enough to make it worth that bummer.
Right.
Whereas I think the other ones did. But I didn't feel like the character stuff was strong enough to kind of like make it worth it. I don't know, but that was my thought after watching this. We'll go more into it, I'm sure. But I just wanted to give my Kong standing. My the congregation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Derek, what do you think?
Yeah,
what's your Kong
I really
standing?
enjoyed this movie. When it started,
Yes.
Here was my path with King Kong, going in cold. I was enjoying it.
I can see that. I like the beginning a lot.
Yeah,
I do.
It started and I was hooked, and then it kept on going, and my interest was rising. I was thoroughly enjoying it, and then almost sadly, when King Kong shows up, for me, the movie falls apart.
That's exactly how I feel, and I felt like if they would have just found this gigantic gate, and I kept thinking, I hope King Kong doesn't show up because this is way cooler. If that'd be way more interesting to me if this keeps going like this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but for me, I think when he actually goes to, at the end, if you don't know, they capture him and bring him back to New York City.
Yeah.
That it wasn't great, but it definitely was a step up, and I was enjoying that. And then when it comes to the end, I guess maybe because I saw this movie when I was a kid, I know what's going to happen to King Kong, and I was just almost nostalgic at that point in the movie when they kill him. It is a bummer, but I'm like, yeah, it's just like I remember, when I was a kid. Here come the helicopters to shoot him down.
There were a couple of things that I was surprised with how far they went. Like and we'll get into the plot summary later, but when there's a gigantic snake and he rips his fucking jaw open, and there's like gore, I'm like, whoa,
that's kind of I mean, it kind of go there in the Peter Jackson one, and I think both of those movies were just doing it based on the original one where it didn't look good. He does the same thing in stop motion, but because it's stop motion, it's like, big whoop. But I think, every one of them tried to keep that in there, I guess.
Yeah, so to give some people out there some background on this movie, this is the 1976 remake of King Kong. There is some debate about who came up with the idea to remake this movie. Michael Eisner claims it was his idea while he was at executive ABC. He said he watched the original King Kong on television and thought we should remake this movie and pitched it to, I don't remember who the producer is that he pitched it to, but this person got Dino De Laurentiis involved, whose name is all over this film.
All over.
Yes.
I've kind of heard of Dino De Laurentiis as a big film producer, but I feel like this might be his, his biggest blockbuster or his claim to fame, as far as I know. I can't imagine.
I don't know.
I've heard the name, but I don't know any of his movies.
I keep wanting to say, because I just recently saw the 10 Commandments for the first time, and I think I might be thinking of like Cecil B. DeMille or something. I thought, no, I don't think he's involved in that. But yeah, he was a big producer and swung his weight around for sure. And my favorite thing, I just want to say my favorite thing that I heard about him during the making of this movie was that he would talk it up, like this is going to be the biggest movie ever. And they would screen it and they would talk to him like, so what's your takeaway from the screening? And he wasn't very detailed. He would just say, the ape die, everybody cry.
All right.
It's like, all right. Well, I guess we nailed it then. Okay.
Yeah. And, the movie stars a very young Jeff Bridges,
Yeah.
which I didn't know going in.
Yeah, me neither.
And
I
was-
love him.
I
So,
really like him. I think
Yeah.
this movie made me officially a Jeff Bridges stan. To see him as young Jeff Bridges, he honestly kind of reminded me of Bo Burnham right now. If you've seen Bo Burnham's comedy special, which is popular right now, and he's kind of got that long-haired hippie look. My girlfriend was watching King Kong with me. She said Jeff Bridges looked cute. So there you go.
There you go.
And Jessica Lange in her first movie role ever.
Yeah.
Jessica Lange is known for American Horror Story. To most people out here who watch, that's
Right.
what she's known for now. That's what she's been doing recently.
I heard that Meryl Streep auditioned for this role, but didn't get the part because she was too ugly.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I heard that too. In fact, I heard that Meryl Streep auditioned for this role, and she told this story on David Letterman, where Dino De Laurentiis was in the room and turned to another guy and said, "Troppo bruta per King Kong." It's Italian. You know what that means?
Oh, Buta. Oh, no. I don't know what that. No.
Too ugly for King Kong.
Damn.
But he didn't know that Meryl Streep understood Italian, and she responded perfectly in Italian, saying, "I'm sorry to have disappointed you," and like walked out of the room. And he was like,
what?
So, you know, be careful when you call a woman ugly in another language, because
Yeah.
she might just know what you're saying.
Yeah, make sure you do it in I don't know. Sign language. Huh?
Dude, that was she didn't see Game of Thrones. That happens in the scene, and then she uses the dragon to attack. I understood your insults. She should have watched it.
Meryl should
No,
watch
Meryl
it.
did. That's where she got the idea.
Oh, that's where. So
Dino
she learned
should've
Italian
watched it.
before she walked into the audition after watching Game of Thrones. Okay, we're caught up.
Yeah. Do you know how was this movie a hit?
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
It cost $23 million to make, and it made $90 million. So it made almost 3 times its budget.
You know, yeah. Wow.
And
And
that's
that's
just theaters.
1976. That's,
Yeah.
And again, I'm telling you that ABC spent $20 million to buy the rights for television, and then DVD sales
this
later
movie
on.
made like over $100 million in the 70s. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I just want to say again, like when I was younger, this was my context for King Kong. They weren't playing the old one as much. This was all over the place, and this is what led to, you know, like you go to Universal Studios, there's a giant King Kong ripping down
Yeah.
the
Oh,
track
there
that
used
you're
to be.
on.
There
Yeah,
used to be.
used to be. Yeah, but all that King Kong ride stuff was all kind of based on this version.
I did
so
not
when I was younger, I
realize-
thought this was the definitive version. You know?
that they weren't going to go to the Empire State Building on this
Yeah.
movie, and it was the World Trade Center. That was a surprise to me watching this.
They pulled a twist.
That was a
Most
twist.
people remember it as the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
Because it's so famously that, I think, in the original.
In the original, and Peter Jackson, right?
Yeah.
I think they did the same thing.
did mention the Empire State Building in some point in this movie. I
Yeah.
forget where, but it was mentioned. But
You know, the reason they don't go to the... And we'll get to it in the plot. We keep saying that.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
worry,
yeah.
we're going to recap the whole
We
plot.
will.
But eventually they take King Kong to New York and, like, fuck his ass up. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but that's
you,
what they
you
do.
can say that.
But yeah, everybody thought and still thinks that he goes to the Empire State Building. But the World Trade Center was like brand new back then. And so, you know, Dino De Laurentiis thought, oh, that's going to be super flashy. We got to set it there.
Yeah.
I guess people in the Empire State Building were upset about that.
They wanted the promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they protested this. Did you hear about this? The
No.
protest?
No.
I don't know if this is an effective protest. They staged a picket. The employees of the Empire State Building dressed up like monkeys and picketed the 102nd floor
Okay.
of their own building, the Empire State Building.
It sounds just stupid.
Fuck.
That was my thought. I would.
All right.
Well, you're really showing the producers, you know, giving
Now
them.
you sorry?
Giving them what's what, you know.
Nintendo, if the new Switch doesn't come out soon, I'm going to dress like Mario in my own house and break a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So I hope you're happy.
I might buy the Switch, but I'm not going to enjoy what I play on it.
Yeah. I'm just going to run around in circles.
That's a
Yeah.
dumb protest.
So hey, it worked because Peter Jackson brought it back to the Empire State Building. So-
Good on you, PJ.
Do you think that's why he did it? Because
Yeah.
he's like, I don't want that protest to happen
He's
again.
like, if
I
the-
got to
and
put it there.
If they do that, they'll do anything.
And I think it's better they did the World Trade Center because by the time Peter Jackson rolled around, guess what?
What?
It would have had to have been CGI.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I
It
forgot.
would have had to have been CGI.
It
World
wasn't
Trade Center.
there, was it?
Also,
Almost like the ape knew something.
Also, the movie in Peter Jackson, it takes place in the 30s, which is 40 years before the World Trade Center was
Oh
built.
shit! You know he's right.
But two bullshit reasons. It was mostly the protests.
It still seems weird, like they knew something. I'm just gonna say King
Somehow.
Kong knew, and it was a conspiracy.
Jesus.
And on that note, Kongspiracy, let's get into the movie. So this movie opens it reminded me of Jurassic Park.
Yes, very
Yes.
much so.
You're looking through a fence as guys are loading stuff into shipping tanks at a dock, a shipping
Yeah.
yard, and it just says like Saboya, Indonesia.
Yeah.
I think it was Saboya, right? So it definitely is Indonesia. And then the camera pulls out, and it's just like some hustle and bustle, and these guys are being like, this thing ain't gonna work. And this guy's like, it has to work. I'm betting my whole life on this expedition. And you see a taxi pull up, and this drunk guy gets out, and he kind of stumbles up to the security guard. He's like, oh, is my passport good? And all this money falls out, and the Indonesian security guard, he's so corrupt, he steps on the money. He's like, right this way.
Right.
And this is a young Jeff Bridges. And as the boat is like pulling up its anchor, he's not really drunk. He throws his duffel bag on and he climbs onto the ship. And then the boat takes off and we are on our way. This is the opening scene of King Kong. I thought this was really cool. It was giving me like Metal Gear Solid vibes.
Yes.
It did remind me of Jurassic Park. But mostly I felt like it had like this gritty realism to it. And
Yeah.
I felt like, this is like a classic 70s film.
Yeah.
The
Oh, yeah,
70s
for
movies where
sure.
they just do it for real.
Yeah, and that's maybe that was honestly why I got more disappointed as it went on. Is that the harder I fell from the beginning? I guess maybe I thought when I was starting it in that opening act, I'm like, I love the original King Kong, the original, and this is kind of taking that story, but kind of bringing realism to it, maybe bringing a little sci-fi to it. He starts to describe like, we found an island. And there's been a fog that's been sitting there.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. But he's describing it in a way that's it's kind of like they're almost putting an explanation to how all this weird shit existed. And I'm like, okay, I'm liking where we're going with this. But it doesn't quite keep that tension up. It loses it. And that just felt like a real smack to the ground for me. But anyway, the production design is really good on this movie, and definitely the way it starts is exciting.
Did you like the opening?
I did. No, I wasn't. But within the first half an hour, I loved the movie. I thought it was great. Even like all the acting. The guy with the mustache, I forget his name now.
Charles Grodin. He died in the middle of the week we watched this movie.
He really did?
He just died days ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So this was your
this
chance.
episode is dedicated to the memory
Yeah.
of what's his name?
Charles Grodin.
Just
You
forgot
know,
it, shit.
you watch
Charles
it,
Grodin.
and you instantly know that guy's the asshole. But like, you don't hate him all the way. Like, there's something about him that's still like
So
charming.
I want
a
to see
little
what
bit.
he's up to.
Yeah.
you know.
I love 70s movies. I think that they just do character right. And this Charles Grodin
Grodin.
plays a character named Fred Wilson, and his character is introduced as this ship hits a wild storm. We cut to the captain's quarters as he's having dinner, and I love this. They have this table with kind of like a lip on it, a shield. I've never seen this. I've never eaten on a boat, but as the boat is swashing around, the food is sliding all over the table, and clearly there's one guy who has his sea legs. He's grabbing shit and drinking it.
Doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't give a fuck, and this other guy is like about to barf.
Yeah.
I love this scene, and the guy who's about to barf, the captain's like, we can get out of this storm, and it just take us longer to get to this island, and he's like, I'm the one who convinced the board of this expedition. If this doesn't pay out, I'm gonna be washing windows.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what you're saying, like, he's an asshole, but I don't know if he's an asshole, but clearly he's like a corporate guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to trust him, but for me, I also, even the captain says, he's like, for a New York City slicker or whatever, you got a lot of guts. And that's kind of the guy who's running this expedition.
Oh, yeah. And he's also got on his crew, Sean, don't forget to point out Odo is on his crew.
Odo from Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
That's where I recognize that guy from.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Renee or Reen or
dude.
Aubergine.
Now-
The whole time I was like, where have I fucking seen this
Odo,
guy?
bro.
Who is this dude?
And
Odo.
I'm sorry. There's a Trekkie at the table and he didn't realize it.
Sorry.
Wow.
Hey, real
Well,
quick.
he said
I
Deep
want-
Space Nine, and then it all clicked. for me.
Between the Kong hate, that whole confrontation, and the no Odo. I wonder if you watched the movie at all.
I'm gonna maybe
Did
make
he
myself
look familiar to
Yeah,
you?
he did. He did.
Yeah, it was bugging me too.
I'm gonna
yeah.
make myself maybe seem stupid here, so get ready for that. Okay. The name Charles Grodin, I thought was the dad from Beethoven.
Wasn't he the dad in Beethoven?
This guy, the mustache guy, is the dad from
Charles
Beethoven.
Grodin. Yeah, it's Charles Grodin.
He looks nothing like that guy to me. Are you serious?
He
he's a
got a
good actor.
mustache.
Yeah.
What the
Classic
fuck?
mustache.
Hey, people make fun of Superman that he doesn't get recognized as Clark Kent because he has glasses on. But you see,
Whoa.
one mustache.
That guy looks nothing like the dad from Beethoven.
Yeah.
I think it does. They're both Charles Grodin. So
Fair enough.
point counterpoint.
All right. Well, there we go. Interesting.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, I have not seen the Beethoven movies in quite a while. So
I just know that guy. That guy looks like a nice family dad. I didn't think. Wow. Here we
yeah.
go.
So Charles Grodin plays Fred Wilson running the expedition. He basically calls a big meeting with everybody, and then, yeah, like Rocco was saying, he starts presenting this really compelling evidence for why they're sailing out into the middle of the ocean with it's basically open water. And he starts telling this story about how he doesn't believe that it's open water. That in World War II, these submariners photographed a fog bank in the middle of the ocean. And then he shows them a picture from 2 weeks ago, and the fog bank is still there. And he's like, a fog bank that doesn't move a wisp in 35 years?
Yeah.
I think that's an island. And then they bring Odo from Deep Space Nine up as the scientist who shows them some satellite images that they got from the American government. That shows an actual island there hidden within the clouds. And what is it? Like some sort of gas that would suggest that there's petroleum oil?
Well, that's what they think at a corporate level. That's what they think it might be.
Yeah.
But then our buddy Jeff Bridges shows up.
Yeah, and this I loved this. I thought, oh, is he gonna sneak away the whole time? And then no, he just shows himself like, yo, you're wrong, and here's why. It's like, who the fuck is this guy?
And he suggests it could even be like this might be like animal breath we can't even comprehend. Like maybe there's CO2 levels or something coming off of this island.
I did want to point out this movie is written in 1976, and I guess the whole reason that there's this oil subplot is because of the energy crisis going on in 1976. So, I don't know what that would be like today. He's going to what's the world's biggest problem? Climate change?
They would talk climate change revealed this island, or something.
Something on this island is sucking the greenhouse gas out of the sky, and whatever. But for whatever reason, that's why they have the oil subplot here.
Yeah, and you keep seeing gas become a thing being brought up like it's a looming presence in this movie. And there was a gas shortage at that time, and it was a really, really big deal.
The petroleum oil. And Jeff Bridges is there, and he reveals himself by saying it could be animal breath. And he starts telling all of these legends. Like in 1629, this explorer got blown off course to this part of the ocean. Said he pierced the white veil. That could be the fog. And on there, he said he saw like the world's greatest beast. And these other legends 200 years later. And it was very like Indiana Jones or Uncharted. I love a movie that has ancient legends.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's reciting poems, and he even says like this person called it the Island of the Skull, which I guess is where the term Skull Island comes from, though they never call it that in this movie.
But I think that's always been kind of part of the King
Skull
Kong
Island,
legacy or whatever.
Yeah, and then everybody's like, who the fuck is this guy? They think he's a stowaway from ExxonMobil, another oil company that wants to get the oil, and they throw him in the brig. Jeff Bridges, he says that his name is Jack Prescott, and he's a primate researcher from Princeton, and that he has basically been waiting for a boat to go to this island, to go to this area. He has a friend in Indonesia, and if anybody ever chartered a boat to this part of the ocean, he was going to jump on it. That was his plan. And as they're arresting him and putting him into the brig, he says, oh, what's out there on the ocean? And they spot
a life raft?
A life raft with a beautiful woman in it. and they rescue it and they pull her on board. And again, at this point, I'm really on board with this movie.
Yeah.
This was me like, this is getting more and more interesting. And then
Yeah.
who's this woman?
Yeah.
And I even felt like when this character showed up, I was like, okay, this could be hokey. This could be lame. But this woman, just played by Jessica Lange, I thought her story was really interesting when they pull her on board.
Yeah, I did too. And I thought like this, she's beautiful. Like like she looks like I don't know. It is like it sold me the whole presentation in the beginning was just like, yeah, again, I was all the way in. I was looking forward to the movie, even though I knew it was King Kong coming up. But I was still excited for this because it was so good at first.
Yeah, I thought Jessica Lange looked very pretty as well. I wasn't really familiar with Jessica Lange. I had like heard the name. I knew she was on American Horror Story.
Yeah.
I think she is like one of the most highly awarded actresses of our time. I think
Really?
I have facts on here. Let me read you the fact sheet on Jessica Lange.
Okay.
Jessica Phyllis Lange is an American actress. She is the 13th actress to achieve the Triple Crown of acting.
Wow.
Winning 2 Academy Awards, 3 Emmys, and a Tony, along with a Screen Actors Guild Award, 5 Golden Globe Awards. Additionally, she's the second actress to win an Academy Award for Best Actress after winning Best Supporting Actress.
Whoa.
And she's the first performer since 1943 to receive 2 Oscar nominations in the same year. She's only the 3rd actress to ever do that, and she is tied for the 6th most Oscar-nominated actress of all time.
And she was just a model before this, right? Like this was her first movie.
This was her first movie. She was a model. She was cast with no acting experience.
Wow.
And I thought she knocked it out of the park.
I agree.
They pull her on the ship, and she's basically an actress who says that she was on a boat. She was cast in a movie. They were going towards this island. They were going to film a movie. The director's name was Harry, but the boat sank, and she jumped in the lifeboat and came here. And when she realizes that everybody in her crew died, like a single tear runs down her face. I was like, that's good. That's a nice subtle tear. I couldn't be able to shed that tear.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't Jack Black play a movie director named Harry in the 2005?
I think so.
He
Yeah.
definitely is a movie
yeah.
director. Maybe his name is Harry.
I
Yes.
wish I knew.
I'll look it
because-
up. I can look that
look
up.
it up because I was thinking like, interesting. She's making a movie and that boat sinks, but in 2005 we see the expedition that's going to make the movie. I would love to know if his name is Harry.
No, it's Carl Denham.
Okay, it's Carl
Denham.
I
Denham.
forgot about that.
That's good. I'm glad it's not Harry. I'm glad it's not Harry because let me tell you why.
Okay.
I did a little research on this movie. She says everybody on the boat died because they went down to watch a movie that
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And then she says, have you ever heard of somebody's life being saved by the movie Deep Throat?
Right.
For anybody watching out there who doesn't know, Deep Throat is like this
I mean-
famous porno.
Like I think the most famous porno.
It's like the most
I
famous
think
porno.
so, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Other than like
I mean-
Debbie Does Dallas or something.
but like Deep Throat was the code name for the person who like fucked up Nixon's shit. Like Deep Throat is
Yeah.
like in like forever in like history.
We should watch it for Movie Club.
There we go.
But she didn't want to watch it, so she survived. And then later in this movie, she kind of suggests that the director, Harry, was going to put her in a pornographic film.
Yeah.
And they basically imply that the guy on the boat who died was the guy who starred in Deep Throat.
Oh, I didn't get that. Interesting.
Oh my gosh, my note is cut off right here. I have his name. Sorry.
We'll never know who Deep Throat was.
Harry Reams, indicating that Harry was Harry Reams, the star of Deep Throat. So that's what they imply.
That's interesting.
So this movie kind of wraps up the whole Deep Throat timeline. You know, what happened to the people after they made that famous porno. They were going to film the sequel, Deeper Throat, on Skull Island,
Deepest
but
Throat.
they sank on the way there.
I didn't get that the movie that she was going to be was a porno. I didn't put that together when I watched it.
That's what this note said, but I do remember watching the movie later on. She was kind of talking about those movies weren't, Harry probably wouldn't put me in that movie anyways, and she's kind of talking about the movies he was kind of making.
Oh, interesting.
Take it or leave it. It's a little bit of trivia of this movie. They approach the island. They find the fog bank. They send a team out through the fog bank. They also decide that Jeff Bridges is who he says. He's not a spy. So they can kind of trust him, but he's a stowaway, so he has to work off his passage. So they're like, you're going to be our expedition photographer. So he gets to go on the voyage. And then this girl, she's going to be like the poster child of the voyage. So she gets to go on board onto the island, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to Skull Island. And while they're there, they find this indigenous tribe of people. They actually like hike through Skull Island for a while.
Yeah.
And then they find this giant wall. It's very mysterious and it's very cool.
It reminded me, like the wall reminded me of Game of Thrones, and like oh, that's where they got that from. Was like that wall like looks so menacing and huge. The set of like them walking through like the caves and the beach, like it looked so cool.
It was beautiful.
I think the production design of this entire movie is really good.
I agree.
Throughout all of it, even parts I didn't like later, I still was like, damn, there's some impressive production.
This part was awesome. I feel like the production value kind of took a nosedive in the middle of the film, where I was like, why do the parts with King Kong not look as beautiful as the parts that led up to the parts with King Kong?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
And I agree on some parts. I still think there are some cool looking parts later on, but
they get it back when they go
a
to
lot
New
of
York.
it. Yeah.
I thought New York looked cool, but
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? So there's this scene where they're hiking through a trail and the camera just pulls out and pulls out and pulls out and pulls out. And I appreciate that they actually made those 8 actors walk in the middle of a giant canyon with nobody with them. Because you could clearly see they are alone in that super wide shot. You know the part I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, they find this wall. They go inside, and then they find this huge tribe of natives in the middle of a ceremony where they're chanting Kong, and they're basically gonna like sacrifice a girl to King Kong. You know that? I mean, it's really. I really enjoyed this part of the movie. I like the huge sets. I like the giant cast.
It's a huge cast.
It was it looked like hundreds of people, maybe even like 2,000. I'm not sure.
Right.
I appreciate those older movies. You know, nowadays that would all be CGI.
Yeah.
That whole set would be computer generated and all those people would be computer generated. They just don't make movies like this anymore. So for me, I was loving this part. I thought it was awesome.
I get kind of excited when I see movies still do something that is a little more inconvenient. You know what I mean? Like this is random to bring this up, but you know, Tenet was like not a perfect movie, but when they're in that theater and there's legitimately like a billion extras in there, you know what I mean? Like little moments like that when they show up in movies, I'm like, oh wow, you didn't like CG a crowd, like thank you.
Yeah,
I like little things like that where it's like, okay,
but even
didn't
in
just
Tenet,
go to that.
It's a million extras that are sitting in chairs and they all fall asleep.
This
movie, you have witch doctors, you have
Yeah,
torchbearers,
dancing,
absolutely.
you've got a woman on a parade like being led. I mean, they are doing a ceremony to marry this woman to King Kong. It's like so involved. It was crazy. And they built this, they didn't like get a theater.
Yeah.
They built a giant like
You don't see
set.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that thing alone was probably a third of the budget. Jeff Bridges and the crew are watching them, and then there's this great moment where everything stops and the guy leading it like points up to them.
Right.
And there's this big confrontation where they see oh, by the way, Dwan.
Dude, what the fuck?
Dwan. Jessica Lange's character, her name is Dwan.
DWAN.
Yeah, so who was typoing that shit on the
I just feel like
script?
someone messed up and they want to go back and fix
What
it.
happened?
Like, you know, Dawn, I'm not doing that. Dwan.
Yeah, she says, oh, it was Dawn, but then I switched the letters, so now it's Dwan. And they just go, oh, okay, Dwan.
Gotta save Dwan. Whatever.
So the
It's fine.
tribe wants Dwan.
I personally thought her character like put a pin in the tension of the movie. Like I didn't really like her character just for that reason. Like I feel like when she showed up, then I don't know, there was a real like drive to like what's going on in it. And then when she shows up, I loved like her kind of mysteriously appearing, and I was interested in that. Yeah. But then after a little bit, it's just kind of like Jeff Bridges like playing with her on the. I don't know. It's like all these guys are all horny for her, and it's like,
Well,
are we?
that's true.
What's?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Are
I
we
didn't
still-
mind that.
I just felt like I was really engaged in the drive to what they were doing, and then that was a weird detour, and I didn't feel like her writing was good enough that it. I don't know. I just felt like she was there for that role, and that was it. I don't know. I don't know. That took away from it.
For me, it's like they found her in the ocean, and I was intrigued. And then she had this compelling story of how she got there, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do you do with a hot girl on a boat full of guys? I mean, she puts on a bikini, she walks around, and she smiles and flirts with everybody and raises their spirits. I actually thought like, oh, these guys have like a cute girl to like, raise their, there was this element of, ooh, I hope this boat full of horny guys, I hope nothing bad happens to Dwan here. Because there was this one guy who's like, I got to check her. Everybody get out of the room. I'm going to undress her.
Yeah, dude. That was
I don't know. That to me, that energy took away from the mystery to me. I felt like I was really in this wrought kind of thing. And then I don't know, when she all of that happening kind of, I don't know. I feel like this is a distraction. Like, get away.
It's King Kong. You can't have King Kong without the girl.
Oh, definitely.
The girl's there.
But that's where I think that's where I think the original and the Peter Jackson one were better with that, where we had, I don't know, there was like some meat to that character, and it all kind of coalesced into the event versus her just showing up and it's kind of a goofy distraction.
I never saw the original one, but I don't think the Peter Jackson one is any better than this movie.
Oh, I think
I like
it's a
this
lot
one better than the Peter Jackson one personally.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I didn't have a problem with Dwan other than her name. I enjoyed, I mean, I didn't question that character. I still like the way the movie was presented, even with her being on the expedition and running off and exploring. I was still compelled. Yeah. Even when the tribe sees her and they demand her and the guys have a standoff, I actually thought, watching this movie, I know that King Kong gets her.
Right.
So when the tribe came up and demanded her, my expectation as the audience, I was thinking, all right, they're going to take her right now.
They don't know her.
And when Jeff Bridges and the team gets away, I was hooked because it played with my expectations. I thought they were going to take her, and they made it back to the boat. So then I was thinking like, well, shit. Now I'm interested. I know this movie doesn't get away with them sailing off and Dwan never sees King Kong. Where do we go from here? So I did enjoy the writing of her character. I thought that hooked into me. They do get away from that situation. It happened so fast though. I kind of like blinked and Dwan got kidnapped.
It was very fast. And the whole thing is stupid, where it's like, oh, she's at this part of the dock and she happens to be here and they happen to go by at this exact time. And it's just like, okay. Like, I know there's about to be a giant ape, so I can't really talk too much shit here, but like, all right.
I'm trying to remember. So basically at night, she's like, oh, thanks for saving me, Jeff Bridges. I love you so much. There is some tension there. She goes down off the boat to like the loading platform. Why did she? I don't remember.
It was honestly just to go. Just to go. Because it was convenient.
Yeah. She's like, I want to go look at the moon or something. And then these fucking stealth tribal dudes come up with their boat and they like grab her and sail off. They just take her back.
And they would have gotten away with it too, but then they left the necklace by accident. Don't know how that necklace got there, by the way. But her hook, or was it the claw necklace that happened? The Jeff Bridges saw. I was like, oh, this is a clue. They took her.
Yeah.
I would have assumed she just fucking died and fell off the boat or something like that. Like, what else happened? She drowned.
Yeah. I missed that part too. Where they saw that claw, because I was thinking like, wouldn't you just like search the boat? Like, she's not in her room. Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know how that. I honestly don't know how that necklace got there because they never got off the boat. It was such a quick thing. They just grabbed her as they were going. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But
so at this point, we're about 40 minutes into the movie. It's like a 2-hour movie, and I feel like every for me personally, I know you don't like the Dwan character, but for me, everything was working up until this point. And even the next scene was great, where they do the ritual now with her. They drug her and they chain her to this platform and they take her to sacrifice her to King Kong. And you're finally going to see King Kong for the first time in this movie. And I actually think they handled it well for the reveal of King Kong. It's point of view, and they chain her to this platform and they put her outside kind of on the edge of the forest, and you see somebody pushing over trees. And King Kong shows up, and it's all close-ups of like his eyes and his hands.
Yeah. I think the close-ups actually in this movie work really well.
Yeah.
In the close-ups in this movie, that's where I because again, like, okay, so the next time they remake this, it's a digital Kong. which I felt weird about when they were doing that, you know?
Yeah.
And I never knew kind of where I sat with all of it. And I feel like watching this in the close-ups, I was like, this is the best you could do with King Kong. It was like, there's a real performance here. There's, you know, whatever. It's when they would pull out further that sometimes it was like a little, yeah. You know, I've always liked using rubber suits for stuff. That's never been a problem for me, but
yeah. But sometimes it just looked bad.
Yeah, sometimes it was just
dumb.
this isn't, you know. In my mind, this movie, again, I hadn't seen it in over 20 years. In my mind, this was always the way to do King Kong. Like, you don't need computer, you could do all this stuff. And watching it now, I'm like, yeah, maybe not always. I don't know.
It's interesting.
But the close-ups I like.
They did a lot of computer techniques. It's not computer, but they have like composite green screen where clearly they're filming a giant mechanical hand holding the actress.
Right.
But she's on a green screen and they're showing either footage of the background behind her, or it would be a reverse shot where she's in the hand and you see King Kong's face like looking at her.
Yeah.
It was obviously green screen, but I feel like you could still do that technique today and it would look good. And a lot of people do that technique. And you pretty much would just replace that hand with a computer generated hand now.
Mm-hmm. I read that the hands weren't done being made until well into the production, like shooting. And then when the director finally like was able to see the hands, like he walked in and the hand was just there in front of him and they were able to control it. So they had it go like this and then it broke in that position, and it said it was weeks before they could get it to not do this anymore.
Oh no!
Yeah,
which is funny.
And I heard that he like laughed. He walked in there because he'd been waiting so long, and he was like, we need these fucking hands. Where are these hands? And finally, the day comes to show the hands. Like, all right, turn it on. And he was just like, he laughed. He's like, that's funny, but yeah, you gotta fix it.
Yeah.
Also, I read that those hands weighed 1,650 pounds each.
Whoa.
Oh my god!
Jessica Lange
They're
is
like pushing around.
fucking ballsy.
No shit.
I'm not gonna get in a 1,600-pound hand and let it like grab me and manipulate me and
oh my
literally
god.
fondle me.
yeah.
Like, fuck that.
And she said that this thing like gave her like pinched nerves in her neck.
Yeah,
because
no
she
kidding.
was in there for so long, and this thing was just like moving her around and stuff.
Oh my god!
Who's controlling that? Oh
Dude,
my
the
god.
70s were wild.
Yeah, dude. Wow.
King Kong picks up Dwan, takes her off to Kong Land where they like fuck and have sex and stuff.
The second
This is where
he
the movie
takes
fucking
her,
nosedives
the
for me.
movie, and for me, never recovers. Like once,
Yeah.
once you see King Kong, the movie turns to shit.
It sucked. Oh my god. It immediately for me, like they clearly go to a studio from this point. Like we've been on location in Hawaii, and then it cuts to like a studio, and it's like it looks like a television show from that point. To me, is like you had such a cool, gritty movie, and then this just looks bad. And I just felt like it was too much. It was the whole middle of the movie was like this relationship.
Which is so fucking weird, and I don't know what we're doing. And like, oh, she's dirty. Okay, so I'm gonna put her in a waterfall to clean her, and then blow on her, and then she's acting like she fucking loves this.
King
and it's
Kong
like,
literally
what the fuck?
gives her a blow job. He
Yeah.
dips her in water, and then everything in this movie is 3 minutes too long. So
Yeah.
it's like the mechanical hand lowers her in the water and then raises her out of the water and then pulls her over in front of King Kong. And then he sucks in some air.
Which
and then
is so goofy looking.
And then he exhales with big cheeks. And then it's her like, oh.
Yeah.
And then he like sucks in some air again and does it again. And she's like, and I'm just like, yeah, I get it. Like, cut. And
yeah, but
like, first
what?
of all, we cut this whole scene.
Yeah,
but
what are you
but
saying?
if you're gonna keep it in here, make it shorter. There was a lot of like she tries to run away, but the hand cups her, and then the hand picks her up, and then he like looks at her. You know, I get what they're doing here, but I felt like you spent so much money on this gorilla shit. You had to use every second. that you filmed.
Yeah.
I guess.
You know, like they couldn't justify not using this footage, and it just made the movie feel bloated for me.
Yeah.
In addition to the fact that it kind of looked like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked bad, and the point of it was stupid. Like, I don't believe this woman's falling in love with this gigantic animal. I don't believe that. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, what are we doing?
I think that ties into just more problems I had with her character, as I just really felt like she was there to fill in all the things they felt like they had to do. You know, I feel like there was a real mystery, and then she shows up, and it's just like, well, we got to have her kind of mingle with this guy. We got to have her, you know, her and the ape have a thing, and I don't know, I didn't buy any of it. I just kind of like, yeah, I guess we're doing this now for the next 6 minutes.
God, was it only 6 minutes? It felt like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
When he dipped her in the water and blew on her, she's moaning in ecstasy, and I just kept thinking, King Kong's breath has to smell like fucking ass.
But yeah,
like how are you enjoying this?
There were lots of moments like that throughout this movie for me. Even when I mentioned before, like them like playing grab ass on the beach when they get on that island. The whole time I'm thinking, did you not just set foot on a mysterious island? Like, what are we doing right now? Like, we're just goofing around. And there's a point later I'm jumping ahead, where King Kong is like ravaging the city, and then they like go out for a drink in the middle of it.
What the fuck?
And I was like, this cannot be real. How is anyone relaxing during this? There were a lot of things like that.
A lot of, well,
yeah,
I feel
totally.
like that to me is just lazy writing. I don't blame her character, because I feel like all the characters were doing stuff like this, and they all went along with it.
Yeah.
And it's all like, it's all
everything you're describing. It's like they just didn't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
In the script, this should have been addressed.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the script was written in like 4 or 5 days.
Oh,
like the first draft was written that fast, and I think it shows. I think it's pretty obvious. And then like obviously they worked on it a little bit, but it was very quick.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I wanted to take my time to get to this point in the story, because at this point forward, my interest went out the window. The longer she spent with King Kong, the more I didn't care.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what they wanted.
Yeah.
Right.
They're trying to build this relationship, and then Jeff Bridges comes. He like leads an expedition to go save her.
Yeah.
With like 5 guys, and they're hiking through the woods, and they come to this like bridge, which is a log going over a big chasm, and Jeff Bridges walks across. He's like, it's safe, and then all 5 other men go across it at once.
Right.
Very stupid.
Yeah.
Then King Kong shows up. Fuck. I would get off that log. Personally, the last thing I would do is stay on that log and open fire on King Kong. That's the first thing these guys do.
Yeah.
Right.
And King Kong comes, and in another scene that goes on way too long, he grabs the log and starts fucking rolling it up.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It just takes forever.
dude,
And-
it's like one guy falls off every 2 minutes.
Yeah, knock him off.
And it's so funny because that's a scene they nailed the pacing of in the 30s version. I mean, that is like dealt with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fast. It's like
King Kong should have just like punched that thing or throwing it off.
I did laugh when they shot the thing on the log. Like, I don't shoot guns often. I've done it a couple times in my life.
Played some video games.
But I also know that when you do it, you're not going to be bouncing on a log over like a 1,000-foot chasm, because you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah, you're gonna.
You're going to fall off from that recoil.
The one dude who survived the log shakedown is the black dude. Hell yeah. This movie I give it credit for not being racist.
Hey, it's a little.
It's a little racist, but here's where I give it credit. The way that they engage with the indigenous people is super respectful. Jeff Bridges tries to openly communicate with them. He tries to interpret what they're saying. He pretty much knows, like, we're being dicks and we're fucking up what they're doing here. And he tells his whole crew, like, if you have to shoot into the air. He doesn't, like, they're not violent towards them.
Yeah, they do
Now-
destroy. Okay, go ahead.
The indigenous people do mysteriously disappear from this movie.
The second they,
Once the expedition lands and shows up camp, we don't really see where the indigenous people go.
but they definitely fuck up that area around it. Like,
They do fill the camp with dynamite and
And
turn it into a
chloroform
giant
or whatever.
King Kong trap. Over the course of the film, they kidnap King Kong, but then they say that tribe, we just screwed them because we stole their god, and they're going to be like a tribe of drunks in a couple of months, which maybe is a generalization, but it does imply that they didn't kill them.
yeah.
Ruined their culture, yes. Destroyed their civilization, absolutely. Desecrated their religion, 100%. Also, is a little insensitive that they just made up this culture to begin with. But I give them credit for not just opening fire on these guys against all odds.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
They tried to be for the 1976 King Kong. I was impressed.
Well, when they're saying like we'll give you 6 of our indigenous women for one of your white women, it's like this seems a little. I don't know. What is this?
That to me, honestly, like you could never write that today. That movie would never fly today. But I feel like in 1976, they're trying their best to remake the 30s King Kong and that tribe element. That comes through in the 2005 one too. They still have that tribe and it's still like a made up civilization. I just appreciate that they didn't like totally disregard their lives. Just be like, these are worthless human beings. Kill them all.
Yeah.
All right, grab the monkey.
An easy thing to do in movies that old.
Yeah. They at least tried to, not engage with them on a combative level. So kudos. But then, they totally take over their camp and they fill it up with.
Is it chloroform?
Well, I thought this part was pretty cool. Jeff Bridges is able to rescue Dwan, and he like brings her back to the camp, and King Kong is chasing him. And they get into the camp, and this camp it's a giant wall with a giant door, and he gets through it. And King Kong starts bashing the wall, trying to come through it. And he finally breaks through, and he falls into a hole that they dug and filled with a bunch of chloroform, and they basically knock him out. I like the monkey trap twist. I didn't know the hole had chloroform in it. They don't really tell you that. You're not really sure what's happening until it's all done. So I was like, oh, that's how they capture him. Yeah. Whatever. I like that part.
They handled that a lot goofier in the original movie where the head dude, and is he Carl Denham in that movie? I think it's been a long time, but he just keeps going. Wait till old Kong gets a load of my gas bombs. He just keeps bringing up that he has gas bombs.
Hell yeah!
Again and again and again. So you never doubt what knocked him out. But anyway, yeah. I think maybe they just assumed you would know.
I think that much chloroform would have definitely killed King Kong.
Yeah.
It would have definitely killed him. And anybody who went down there, how do you retrieve that body when he's lying in a pit of chloroform?
It's all dumb at this point. Like it doesn't
You're
matter.
totally checked out at this point?
I kept looking at I kept pausing how much longer? Oh fuck. Okay. Fuck. Yeah, I was checked out.
For me, I was paying attention. Definitely the parts with Jessica Lange sucked and I hated it. But then, and the log rolling part sucked and I hated that. But the smashing of the wall, that got me back. I was like, this part's cool. I'm down for this. What did you think?
It's fine. But again, I was starting to lose a little bit of, I honestly, I knew the city part was coming up and that's what I remembered. So I was more just like, okay, this is fine. But I remember the city part looking really cool. So this movie's just getting better, I hope. Yeah.
I put a note here. I have a couple of notes. I was just taking notes while I was watching it. Here's one of my notes. Where is King Kong's penis? You mentioned it earlier that we see King Kong's dick, but you actually don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And the bridge scene, you were clearly staring up.
Yeah,
at
that
this
was bullshit.
50-foot gorilla's crotch.
Yeah.
Where's the junk?
Yeah, where is that?
You talk about going for gritty realism. It wasn't there.
Yeah.
Here's another note I put. Maybe you'll agree with this. In this movie, King Kong is 90% hand. It's 90% that you don't see Kong. It's just they're interacting with that mechanical hand the whole time.
Yes.
They show way too much of King Kong in this movie. They literally have a scene of him sleeping. Like they show him going to sleep in the jungle. And I was like, you're showing him falling asleep?
Yeah.
That's the opposite of an exciting movie. They put him on a boat and they start sailing him back to America. He freaks out, starts trying to break up the boat, and Jessica Lange comes and flirts with him until he calms down again. That's me summarizing this trip.
Yeah, you got
That's
it.
basically what happened.
You guys are so checked out from this episode of Movie Club.
No. Another thing that kind of made me, again, it's like every scene made me disengage more, and like the Charles Grodin's character, we talked about him. We described him at the beginning, how he's like got kind of a mission here and what his plan is. And you don't like him, but you kind of want to see what he does and, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I just feel like on a dime, it's like all their plans are based around fuel and solving the, this and that. And then on a dime, he's just like, hey, you know what? We can sell a lot of tickets to see this, like this new like showman arc comes out of
nowhere.
It just feels like I wish there was a more organic way to get to that point, as opposed to he just goes, say, oh.
Yeah,
So,
even
I don't know.
like
I
the
felt
Jack
like that,
Black one, where he was the director and
he was already a showman,
right, and he wanted to bring this thing. Well, I wasn't anticipating this, but we'll bring this thing, and we'll, whatever.
It felt organic for that.
This
to
had
happen.
nothing to do with oil.
Yeah,
and it's
he just starts.
This is their new mascot. Like I don't get what's happening.
It was just again trying to fit. We got to fit these things, these classic things from the old movie. We got to get them in here. So that was another thing where it just felt like the tension was leaving.
Yeah, it definitely took a hard turn for me when we kept going to scenes of that guy and Odo on the beach planning the monkey. This whole new, they're kind of just explaining what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it was multiple scenes. And anytime I'm watching a movie and it's like the same two guys in the same room, 10 minutes later in the movie, still talking about the same shit, I'm like, you guys really should have done like another draft on this. Condense all of this.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. There's oil on the island. Why? They're like, yeah, who gives a shit?
Well, they said it wasn't ready.
It just felt like there was a lot tied up in the science of what was happening. And then it's like, oh, that didn't work. Well, shit, man, I'll sell tickets to this thing. That'll be fun. Yeah, cool. Popcorn. It's like, what? Yeah. It just happens overnight. And I just was like, all right.
Jeff Bridges is like some expert. Where did that come into play? Like that was to get him on the boat, but like that never. I don't know. I feel like it was never anything that was like useful.
Yeah.
He never seemed like he gave a shit about anything. Like he didn't care about. I don't know. Like
so maybe he was gonna have more of a story there.
You just made me realize after King Kong falls in that chloroform pit, Jeff Bridges might as well fall into that chloroform pit. His character contributes nothing to the rest of the movie.
And they keep saying, "Oh, you're gonna be part of the show." It's like, well, why? In what way?
Yeah,
it's so interesting. I didn't even consider that because up till that point, I considered him to be the main character of the movie, and even through the end, he kind of was. But in the grand scheme of things, he serves no purpose after he rescues Dwan. He never accomplishes anything after that, nor does he desire. He's like, I don't know if I want to do this monkey show. And they're like, what are you going to do? That's what I thought. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And then, I'm not doing the monkey show. And I donated money to animal things instead. But then this is such a dumb little thing. And we'll get to this part in a second, I'm sure. But when they find this fur coat and he puts it on, it's like, ooh, it's chinchilla. It looks great on you. And I felt like, what kind of fucking animal person are you?
Dude.
Like, what are you saying?
Bro, he puts that chinchilla coat on her, and I was like, she's wearing a chinchilla fur coat? Chinchillas are like that big.
Yeah.
That's like 200 chinchillas.
Right.
That was so much fucking fur.
You're telling me this like expert in animals is into fur coats? Like, I don't get your character at all.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
No.
I have a note. This bitch is wearing chinchilla. Damn, how many chinchillas did they kill for that thing? Fuck. Yeah, so they bring King Kong out on display in New York City, which, by the way, the end of this movie has this fucking love letter to Carlo Ribaldi. Oh, Carlo Ribaldi. Thank you. The producers want to give a special thank you to Carlo Ribaldi. Carlo, can we kiss you? I looked up, like, who gives a shit about Carlo Ribaldi?
Yeah.
Did you know that the King Kong in that display was an actual 40-foot robot?
What the fuck?
And he built that, right?
The largest animatronic mechanical animal. You could kind of see it on camera.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a picture of King Kong. That was a 40-foot robotic King Kong.
Whoa.
Yeah, I knew they did a full size one. I do. You could. There's certain shots you could definitely tell.
That's why that thing had like the stupidest hands. It kept like the hands were like.
Yeah.
It was like And was the robot malfunctioning? I
What
don't
is
know.
that? Doing with that thing?
King Kong feeling awkward?
Yeah, but they bring it's kind of cool. They bring
Yeah.
King Kong out like Hannibal Lecter in
Yeah.
this giant like
Yeah.
cage.
I do like that
with
entrance,
this
yeah.
crown on him, and it did look fucked up.
Yeah.
And it felt like there was some subtle commentary because it was all like sponsored by America.
Right.
And had
Yeah.
American flags all over
And,
it.
yeah, and the giant gas pump.
Yeah. It was
yeah.
like this corporation / government sponsored
Yeah.
display.
It's
And
like
it was
the grossness of the whole
yeah,
thing.
and it was very like grotesque and gross and overdone. And I just couldn't help but feel like there's got to be some sort of subtle commentary
Yeah.
going on here.
But it's funny. I will say, for my money, what's really interesting here, even though the filmmaking of the 1930s is what it was, and the effects were, again, in that version, it's a stop motion stupid thing, whatever. For my money, the debut of Kong in, when they show it to the public is the most dramatic in the original version. I don't know how it still is, because you have this one, and I thought this was not bad. This was like a cool, I thought the execution of the scene was good. And then you have Peter Jackson's King Kong. Again, it's got a lot of CG and it's flashy,
Yeah.
but there is a scene in the original 30s King Kong. He's almost crucified on this thing. And they raise this gigantic curtain, and everyone's just like, oh, like, it's like, how is that still the most dramatic version of this? Like, somehow, even when the dude is claymation, I think that reveal is still the most dramatic, where it's like, whoa, this thing is fucking terrifying. So that's just my 2 cents. But I think some people out there will agree with me. That scene is still works. But this one, I would say, is second place in terms of the reveal of Kong.
Well,
that's always a dramatic moment.
This is the only one where they actually had a gorilla in front of the people.
Yeah,
Think about
that's
that.
true. Yeah.
They
Very
actually
true.
they have like hundreds of people swarming this
Yeah.
40-foot gorilla robot, and the announcer's like, "Don't worry, folks, that's a cage that he can't break." He breaks it.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, "Oh, this actually was like was this intentional comedy? Oh, he broke the cage. Well, don't worry, there's no way he's breaking those shackles." Guess what? He breaks the shackles.
Yeah.
I was like, you fuckers. And he's looking for Dwan. He starts searching New York City for his love interest, which is fucking awkward. And yeah, I might be with you. I don't know if I am down for the story. Like, the gorilla just wants to bang this chick.
Yeah, he wants to bang this chick, and then so her and Jeff Bridges are escaping. For some reason, she says, "I need a drink. Can you buy me a drink? I need a drink. I need to get a like."
You should contextualize that. King Kong gets loose. These characters are in a train,
Right.
and King Kong rips up the track and takes the train off.
The part I did laugh at was
Yeah.
a girl who was wearing a dress similar to her.
Yeah.
And he picks her up and realizes it's not her and just throws that girl
Yeah.
like 80
Chucks her.
feet.
And I felt like at that point, King Kong does a lot of damage, but that was just cruel. And I'm like, all right, shoot this fucker.
That was where the movie got back on track for me. Honestly, like them on Kong Island, filmed in a studio. I thought this looks like shit. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
look cool. But all of these scenes,
Yeah.
he looked like demonic. And
Oh yeah, I like the production design of
he
this
was
part a
in
lot.
New York City. It was all covered in graffiti.
Yeah.
This is the only time King Kong comes to modern day 70s New York.
Yeah.
And that stood out to me. And this is also where I remember seeing it as a kid. Like, oh, this is, my memories kick
Yeah.
back in.
And
Yeah.
and this is what the Universal attraction was based on
Yeah.
Oh,
too.
'cause
Here,
the train.
here in
Yeah.
Here in Hollywood, you would drive past them and he would cause some trouble. But there was a whole attraction built around that in Florida called Kongfrontation, where he's like ripping your fucking track down, and a helicopter flies nearby, and that gets knocked down and crashes. It was way more impressive than the one we
When
had
I
here.
was a kid, I went to Universal Studios and I was traumatized by King Kong.
Yeah.
Big hand reaching into the thing trying to grab it. It
Yeah.
scared the shit out of me.
When I went on it as a kid, I knew we were heading for that part, and I was like, I'm not doing
Yeah,
this. I'm
it
not doing
scared
this.
me.
I went like that, and I'll never forget my dad putting my hand on my shoulder and going, look at it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. No, seriously, you'll feel a lot better. Look at it. What? Looked at it. That guy's hand was so fucking broken that the finger was hanging off and the wires were coming out. And I mean, it was in like disrepair. And it was like, okay, this is funny. Yeah. He's like, see, it's not real. It's like, okay.
I saw that thing in its prime. And
Yeah.
I was like 4 years old. It was
Yeah.
like, so it must
That
have been
would've
like
terrorized me.
1989 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And for my money, that's the best version of the Universal Studios Kong
Oh,
ride. 'Cause
absolutely.
the Peter Jackson 3D glasses movie where the track shakes.
Not yet. Not good.
Not yet.
Don't put on those 3D glasses. Not yet.
Not sorted.
No.
And then I think they even replaced that with like a Fast and Furious.
No. They're both there.
They're both.
You get to enjoy both.
You get punished
You
twice.
get to.
But I'll throw them a point here. When they brought the 3D thing to Florida, again, they don't have a tram tour like we do. It's its own attraction, and so they extended the 3D shit. It's a little longer, and it's its own ride. Okay, big whoop. They did restore an animatronic Kong, and at the end, when you're at the end of the ride, you leave it. You do see the full size Kong like looking at you and stuff like that. It's like, okay, they at least put a physical thing.
Yeah.
One thing, whatever. Throw them a point.
King Kong climbs to the top of the Empire State. I mean,
No.
the World Trade
Center. I'm
Center,
gonna protest for
and
a second.
they shoot him with flamethrowers, which is okay.
All right.
And then they get some helicopters to fucking annihilate him.
Dude, yeah, this movie was not. They didn't waste a second.
They
No.
shot that gorilla with so many bullets. They almost shot his damn head off. Like this.
It's almost the scene. It's like Scanners shit.
This
Like this
gorilla's
thing's
fur
exploding.
turns red with blood. Yeah. They shoot the shit out of him. It is like and then it's like Apache war helicopters, and he's fighting back, swatting him, but then they just shoot him so much, he falls to his death.
Now, this is, to me, what King Kong is in a nutshell, is that this animal is laying there dead or dying on the ground, and photographers are standing on top of his dying body taking pictures of him. And it's like, this is what you want me to take from this movie? Fuck off. Fuck this. It's gross. I get it. We suck. Humans suck. I know. And I just got mad and the movie was over. So that's...
Yeah, I think you're supposed to be like Jeff Bridges, which is like, we were never supposed to mess with nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the original movie and the Peter Jackson version have the same kind of moment at the end where you have the asshole guy looking at what happened and went, "It was beauty that killed the beast."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does happen.
Where was
in
that?
The two movies.
Well, this
we
guy,
didn't
asshole guy
watch.
was stepped on in this one, and he was dead. So, yeah.
That's the 1976 King Kong.
Yeah. That was that.
You want to give us some popcorn shakes?
Yeah. Rocco, you picked it. You want to go first?
Yeah, I think the other versions of this story are better at telling a story about kind of the futileness of certain things and how the pursuit, like we'll die for the pursuit of certain things, even if it makes no sense. I think there's more beautiful stories to be told. I know the Peter Jackson one isn't perfect and a lot of people don't care for it, but I do feel like at least it wasn't afraid to be sappy and have emotional stories with its characters and put them in their places in the right at the right time so that it made sense later and whatever. This one to me, I just feel like really wanted to be a blockbuster version of that. You know what I mean? I don't think it had they had real like emotional connection to the material as much as they just wanted it to be cool. I didn't really like it. I feel like there's so many other versions of the story you could enjoy, and so I'm gonna give it a 1. I think it's kind of a waste of time, but the production value is good in a lot of parts of it. Like there's a lot of visually interesting things, but that not much more for me.
I will say, I mean, I made no secret that I didn't like this movie. The beginning part was cool, and the sets, not the sets, the locations they shot at were awesome. And for that, I would give it the 1 shake it deserves. Stop making King Kong. Stop putting King Kong in things.
Oh, I'm absolutely. The story has been told, as far as I'm concerned.
The fact that there was a King Kong movie released within this year is stupid, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Wow.
I'm gonna give this movie a 3
Okay.
out of 5.
Fair enough.
But I don't like it. I feel like I'm not as hard on this one as you guys are.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoyed this movie up until the point where King Kong showed up. You just heard my thoughts on that. And then him ripping up New York maybe that's nostalgic for me, but
Yeah.
I was
did
into,
like those
I was
parts.
into that part too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was enjoying the movie so much when it started. I was considering giving it a 4, and then the King Kong part sucked so much. I was like, I'm gonna knock a star off. So I give it a 3.
All right.
And I was gonna say real quick with we didn't finish our thought, but they go to get a drink right after the train being ripped to shreds off of the track. That's when they're like, "Oh, we made it." Yeah, I just really could use a drink.
Buy me a drink.
And yeah, that part completely sucks the tension out of the movie. But the reason I want to bring that part up is I realized that there was something implanted into my brain in that scene because she's in the bar. He walks off. Jeff Bridges walks off for a minute. She's in the bar getting a drink, and quietly King Kong's hand comes through the door of the bar to grab her, and she's like, "What the fuck?" and looks up. That part was kind of terrifying, I thought. But she looks up through the window, and they green screened it, but the big ass King Kong is looking through the window, like
peeping Kong
at her, peeping Kong, exactly. I had that recurring dream. I didn't know it came from this. I had a recurring dream throughout my whole childhood that I was in a house and like King Kong was outside, like looking through the window, trying to see me. And I would have to hide. There was a bathroom in our house, like in the middle of our house that had no windows. And I would just hide in there so that he couldn't see me through any of the windows. It had to have started with this.
Dude, looking at it now, though, his face is so fucking goofy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Hello.
But I think, but I've had that, when that image showed up in the movie, I was like, oh my God, it was from this.
That's so funny.
And I had that throughout my childhood. It was a recurring thing. I was like afraid of him or something. Anyway.
Well, there you go.
Nice. Next week's episode, we're going to be reviewing a movie that I've always heard of, but I'd never seen. And I asked anybody around here if they had heard of it, which they had, but nobody had ever seen.
Yeah.
And so you've probably heard of it, and you've probably never seen it. So watch it. We're going to watch Leon the Professional. Movie, I think it's Natalie Portman's first film, but more importantly, has a French guy with a cool hat.
Yeah.
Which is all I know going into this movie.
Yeah, the glasses and the hat.
I always hear this movie get brought up in all the, ranking all these great films and all that. I have a ton of friends into films and filmmaking. None of them seen it.
Yeah.
Every time I ask somebody, it's like, nope.
We're going to find out why. Yeah.
So watch it and then come back and hear our thoughts on the next movie club.
We're going to find out if he's Leon the Amateur.
Bye-bye.
I want to make sure I got that in before I click the button.